Hello and welcome in. Wednesday live chat for this week's Bermuda Championship and really anything else that you want to talk about. It's the fall. I get it. It's an event that's probably not going to have shot length with a weak field. If you want to talk about anything, we can talk about it. We usually have a little bit of fun here on these Wednesdays, going through the chat and seeing what comes out of it. I'll tackle as many questions as I can from a data-driven, logical, reasonable approach, and we'll basically go from there. Also, new lights in the studio. Can you tell a difference? The goal would be no. Hopefully they look just as good as normal, if not any better. So here's what we're going to do. Go ahead, drop all the questions, comments, concerns in the chat right now. I'll hit you with the weather. The thing with Bermuda and a lot of these places that are tropical is the defense tends to lie with the wind. Here's what we're seeing. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By the way, this is this weather station is like right there in Southampton. So Thursday morning, basically no wind. In fact, like the wind gets lighter throughout the day. Almost no wind in the afternoon. Now we're talking about a 5 mile an hour difference or so from Thursday morning to Friday afternoon, or excuse me, from Thursday. Yeah. From Thursday morning to Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, pretty light, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour up to about 10 miles an hour, maybe 11 miles an hour. If you made me guess, I think that Thursday afternoon, Friday morning is a hair better, but this is not a 10 or 15 mile an hour difference. And then the weekend could be a little bit wild because you're going to get some larger sustained winds, also a chance of rain throughout the weekend. And you see that on the PGA Tour's weather report as well. They say that there is a cold front moving in that's going to bring a chance of showers on Saturday before stalling out in the south of the island on Sunday. Mainly cloudy, breezy, cooler conditions on Sunday with isolated showers. You look at their wind projections. They're predicting more. They're predicting, especially on, well, I guess not more. They're predicting it as well to be worse on Saturday and Sunday. 12 to 18 miles an hour with gusts of 25, 10 to 15 with gusts of 20 on Saturday and Sunday, respectively. I don't think there's a wave advantage. I think it's going to get more difficult or more windy as the week goes on, but I don't know if there is an actionable wave advantage to be had. Okay. Now that is done, let us go over to the comments here. John says, Todd has the course fit and history on his side. Does the almost 2 months off make you think twice? What is his history on prolonged breaks? Okay. So let's do it. We are here. Brendan Todd. I will show you his golfer profile. RickRunGood.com, my website, giant database for fantasy golf and golf betting. Those are the tools that you're going to see. Go check it out. So the course history is a win and a missed cut. The idea of him being a great wedge player and a great putter certainly comes into play. Coming off a T6, or excuse me, a 6th place finish at the Fortinet. He's got a lot of decent results as of late. Can we find another time in which he's had a prolonged break? Now that would normally come at the end of one season or at the end of one year into another. So at the end of 2022 into January of 2023, he didn't play from November to January, finished T21 in his first start. Did he have a break in the fall? Not really. That was only 2 weeks. Just kind of going back and looking here. 2022, he missed the cut in his no, he didn't. He finished T48 in his first start back, excuse me. That's really the only times he takes significant time off. He actually played here. He doesn't take a lot of time off in general. Kind of a mixed bag. More bad than good, but it's hard to say that is based on a prolonged break. I don't think I really care that much. I think that he is better than a lot of the field in general. I wish he had played 2 or 4 rounds before this, but not enough to make me change my mind on him. Any DP World Tour Nedbank bets this week? So I haven't done anything yet. Here's the cheat sheet for it. I'll probably, there's a chance I click Tommy Fleetwood's name. There's a chance I click like Vincent Norman's name. I haven't made a bet yet, but I don't mind just betting Tommy here and seeing what happens, but I haven't put a ton of time and energy into it. Smash the like button. I noticed that nobody asked you to run an updated model last week. So has the model changed since the preview video? I think in the preview video, I did a lot of wonky stuff. I don't know I don't remember exactly what I did. So let's just run a different model here. So let's go to make sure I'm on the Bermuda Championship. You can run a Nedbank model if you want. You can run a round one model if you want. Let's do a couple of items here. Let's do strokes gained approach last 36 for 20. And then I will separate it out onto the wedge buckets a little bit. So let's do 6 on 50 to 175, 6 on 75 to 100, 6 on 100 to 125. The other thing that I'll do is on hole types, I'm going to put just a little nugget on, on long par threes, 200 yards or more. There's 3 of them on this golf course. So I've got half of my weights on approach and gearing towards the wedge shots in and longer par threes. The other thing that I will do is I will emphasize putting on, we could do bonus, but let's do 10 on bonus putting. And then let's just do, because that's kind of a scoring stat as well. And then let's just do strokes gained putting last 24 for 15. So we've got 27 left. I probably want to do a little bit of a course history situation. So let's go and do 10 on Port Royal. And then we've got 17 remaining. And I will probably just do something pretty standard like 10 on birdies or better, 7 on implied win. My number one golfer is Ben Griffin. I just like cannot get away from Ben Griffin. Whatever I put in the last 2 weeks, Ben Griffin shows up. I mean, he's a great putter and a great wedge player. I guess that's kind of the deal here. Thomas Dietrich's number 2. Dylan Wu is number 3. Stuart Sink and Brendan Todd are 4 or 5. Then you get to Justin Lauer, Sung Yul No, Ben Martin, Mark Hubbard, and Taylor Pendrith. This does feel a lot different than what I ran on Monday. I don't remember exactly what that was. God, I cannot get away from Ben Griffin. Brendan Todd, it's going to be sick when he is 35% owned and misses the cut here. Let's kick it off with your card. Any long shots this week? Are you playing it safe? RRGOAT. So Rick Run Goat. Appreciate it. So my card this week is as follows. Akshay at 22, Glover at 22, Harry Hall. I got it both 65 and 85 to 1. I accidentally also clicked Andrew Novak's name and did not notice at 65 to 1 and put that bet in. That was a mistake. I did not intend to bet Andrew Novak. That was a misclick, which I haven't done in a while, but I did this week. Disclaimer, just like go bet whatever you want. Don't bet what I bet. We have different objectives and all that stuff, but I've bet Akshay, Glover, and Harry Hall. I accidentally bet Andrew Novak, which, by the way, let me just see, like, what is he, like, how worried should I be about? I should be pretty worried about that. He's missed three out of his last 4 cuts. He's missed 5 out of his last 7. He's played here twice. He did finish 17th last year, but that is, I think I have just donated. But that was a pure misclick, which I do not do often. This feels like an event where one of the young studs finds it for a week and wins the title and wins with little to zero form. If that is true, Matt, I'm worried that it is Alex Smalley, that is who you're talking about. There is this idea, and I don't know how real it is, that you don't necessarily need to be in great form coming into this event. But the Alex Smalley from May to July is the guy who could have won this event, right? If he came in that form, I think he would have been really, really popular this week. He showed a lot of upside in a lot more difficult events. He showed elite ball striking, and he has played here twice, and he has 2 really good finishes. His recent form is not good at all. 2 out of his last 5 cuts he's missed. 4 finishes outside the top 60 in his last 5. The putter is a problem. But if that blueprint that you're talking about, young guy, a lot of upside, not necessarily great form, comes in, I think it's Smalley who kind of checks off a lot of those boxes. Who, in your opinion, has the best combo of putting and wedge play? Well, the model that I just ran is a lot of that. We can clear this out and just do wedge play and putting, which there's a lot of different ways to do putting. But when I ran this in my newsletter, actually, I could just plug my newsletter here because I ran the same thing in my newsletter. It came out to be Harry Hall. So I put 40 on strokes gained putting, 40 on approaches from 50 to 125. And then I did scoring upside as well. Harry Hall Ryan Moore, Ben Griffin, Austin Cook, Brandon Todd were the top 5. You should subscribe to my newsletter. It's 100% free. rickrungood.com/newsletter. It was emailed out yesterday morning. It was in your inbox, and there's a lot of great little nuggets in there if you are interested. Jason Duffner, is the Duff Daddy worth a dart? Yeah, believe it or not. So Greg Ducharme brought up Duffner on the First Cut podcast that we did on Monday, and why can I not type his name? And I was pleasantly surprised with how well he's played. A positive ball striker, a competent-ish putter. He can still lose you 5 strokes, but he has gained more frequently than he has lost, dating back to basically TPC Deer Run, which is a little bit of a new thing for him. It's obviously the one thing that he's battled a lot in his career. He doesn't have great history here, but he hasn't played here since 2021. You could do a lot worse as a dart throw. I don't think he's going to win. I think he has top 20 upside, maybe top 15 upside in this field, but this is a better profile than I would have expected to see from Duffner. Oh, lighting is definitely better. Thank you. Yeah, it's actually, I feel like it's at least competent, if not better. And it is much more flexible. It is a lower profile. I don't have a huge thing in my face. I've got like 2 smaller things in my face. And I can be more strategic with it. So I went there. Would you bet Ben Griffin at 22-1? He was 125-1 1 year ago. So I have ran many models in the last 2 weeks, and Ben Griffin has showed up almost exclusively as the number 1 golfer. Does he have the upside to win? TBD. I thought that he kind of coughed it away in Jackson when that was an event that he probably should have won. And when you gain 8.5 strokes putting and you gain 7 strokes on approach, you should probably win. And you didn't. That raises a little bit of a red flag for me. I think that if he is capable of winning here, he is probably capable of winning the American Express, for example. He is probably capable of winning some of these other events where he's going to be much longer than 22-1. So I will not bet Ben Griffin at 22-1. I will access him on fantasy websites, matchups, things of that nature, and he modeled really, really well for me, but I will not bet him. Has there been any news on year 2 of the season-long fantasy league, fantasy golf? So no, not yet. I have a ton of news to dump. I'm not ready to do it yet, but I've got to do updates on season-long fantasy golf. I've got to drop a one and done update, which I haven't done yet, but I've been working on behind the scenes. I've got to drop a couple of Rick Run Good updates. There's going to be some new tools that were in the final stages of testing that should be pushed to the website soon. I've got to drop an update for, I think I've only teased it as like a communication method. So I have a lot of stuff to update that will be coming before the new year. So bear with me on that. I think the short thing on season long fantasy is, if you're in a league right now, that league should just renew. You have the ability to renew that. I don't want to be the commissioner of 30 leagues anymore. I think that's fair. I don't want to be the arbiter. I don't want to participate in, I think I was in way too many leagues last year. I think I was in 12 of them, and it got to be a little bit too much. So that's a personal thing, but most leagues should be able to just continue to keep running. I'm sure I'll have a tweet thread or maybe a Google Doc at some point if you need to find somebody, but it should be relatively straightforward. Wes and George Bryan are in the field. Can you show any of George's previous rounds? I'm not even sure I have George's previous rounds. So my database, and I'd have to, the last thing I have on George is from, I don't even know if this is that George Brown, honestly. It's because I think George Brown, I'll admit, I don't think this is actually George Brown. I think this is a different George, or excuse me, George Bryan. I don't know why I keep saying George Brown. Because George Bryan's PGA name is technically George Bryan the fourth, which makes me think that this is like his dad or some other George Bryan. So I would not look at this profile. I'm not sure. So I think George is a lot better than maybe some of the guys in this field. There are guys in this field who have gotten exemptions or have gotten in through a variety of existing criteria that probably should not exist anymore. George has played, he is in the Monday Q world right now, which is so demanding and you have to be so sharp. He got into a playoff a couple of weeks ago, didn't get through, but got into a playoff for a 4 of 3 in a Monday qualifier, or 4 for 2 maybe. He is through first stage of Q school. I don't know when second stage is. He has been really playing good golf. I don't know if I have much more to say about that. I root for him. I root for him and Wes immensely. I hope they do well. More of a rant. Don't do this, Zach. Why is the tour incapable of supporting us with lasers during this stretch? I don't know. Zach offers up a theory, like, is it a language barrier? They had it in Mexico last year at the Mexico Open. It's not a language barrier, right? I don't know why this has been so difficult to get ShotLink at every event. And I know it's a goal of theirs, and I know that things move very, very slowly. The other thing to consider that has been tested, it's called ShotLink Lite or ShotLink something, where they were testing this on the Korn Ferry Tour. It is basically a little device that each golfer clips on their belt, on the back of their belt, and it is accurate within a yard, which for our purposes, if we're not going to have ShotLink at all, that would be fine. It would say 171 yards from the fairway or from the rough, or it's accurate within a yard. They're testing that, which might be a nice fill in for weeks where we don't get the full system. I don't know. Just there's a lot, but I could talk about that for about 100 years. Can we all just take a second to respect the fact that Rick doesn't care if it's the Masters or the Waterbury Open he's going to deliver? Yeah, listen, I really don't care, right? I care about the process. I care about being involved. I care that there is going to be a winner this week, and I'm going to try to figure out who it is. I care that and also the more I work with these guys, these guys are all so good. It's kind of a disservice to really only care about golf a couple of times a year. So I appreciate you. Will Adam Long break the consecutive fairway hit record on Thursday? Does that put a lot of pressure on him on Thursday? I don't know. Sia says, better Griffin, Stewie, or Brian? Or Ben. Definitely Brian. I'm a Brian guy. That Novak bet is going to hit now. I'm hopeful. Any feel for Sam Bennett, or is he maybe better for tougher courses? Yeah, I'm not actually sure we know who Sam Bennett is yet, right? He bursts onto the scene at the Masters, plays phenomenal there, and he hasn't played particularly well since then. So this is a young guy who we might just not know anything about. I love his driving numbers, right? He's generally a gainer off the tee. The rest of his game is not particularly sharp, and it's all over the place. So he has a lot of growing still to do at the PGA Tour level. It might have been a long-term bad thing for him to snap off and be in contention. I think on Saturday or Friday or whatever that was at, low am or whatever at the Masters. That might be a lot of pressure too soon, and he might be trying to relive that every single week. But I don't think we know enough about Sam Bennett yet, and I think his game has a little bit of growing to do. Hey, Rick, I think might finally be time to be early on Nico Echeverria. That's interesting. Looks to be trending, and I think he likes tropical settings. Let's take a look at it together. So, man. Well, you are more generous than I, Chris, because the trend that you have identified is after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 consecutive missed cuts. He finished T31. So very generous of you, Chris, to throw him into the trending category for that. I appreciate your optimism. He finished T23 here last year. We don't have the strokes gain breakdown from El Cardinal. This appears to be rather generous. Your comment about his success in tropical locations, he does have a win. His only win was the Puerto Rico Open. Outside of that, he has a T7 in Panama. which I'm not sure if that's a coastal course or not, or if it's played. I'm not even sure if Panama's on the coast, to be quite honest with you. T12 at the Sony Open. I think that's, again, I think, Chris, very, very generous of you to say those two compliments about Nico. I love Nico and I love his game. He's in the midst of a tough one right now. So he's got to, I'm hoping that he can put up a good one this week. And then maybe we can say, hey, it's a little bit of a trend. Has Smotherman popped up in any models that you run? Yeah. So if you run some like shorter term Smotherman stuff, or shorter term stuff, you'll get Smotherman. I mean, he was great on Sunday of last week. He's now got 2 good starts in a row. So if you run like 8 or 12 round stuff, you'll get some Smotherman popping up. He needs to put all 4 rounds together, right? You know, we can look at his round by round stuff, and where is he? Smotherman. And I think you're going to see a story of this, right? You know, 3 good rounds last week, coughs up 2 rounds to the field on Saturday. 3 good rounds to the Shriners, coughs up 2, stroke and a half to the field on Saturday again. You know, he has the ability to gain 2, 3, 4 shots to the field. Unfortunately, he too frequently gives up 2 or 3 shots to the field. So some of these maybe showdown situations, maybe a first round leader. I don't know what his tee time is for tomorrow. I'm sure I could look it up. That would be a little bit interesting. Also, if you do, before I forget, if you do think there is an actual wave advantage, you could choose that in the custom model. You could run so many golfers from the AM wave, or so many golfers from the PM wave, or, all 6 golfers from the AM wave, whatever you want. You can do that in the custom model and it'll pop itself up. I've loaded the waves in there. So Austin Smotherman is a PM/AM guy, which is what do we decide? That I think is the better side. I don't think it's super crazy, but it's the better side that you want to be on. Okay. We are slowing on questions, which happens. It's the fall, all that good stuff. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about. Business, golf, whatever. Data, plans for the new year, fantasy, whatever. While those come in, let me run through a couple of things that I know are usually asked about. So let me pull up the cheat sheet here and we'll look through the projected ownership and we will see if there are any interesting pivots. The entire 10K range is projected to be somewhere between 18 and 24% of ownership. Akshay is the lowest at 18%. Adam Scott, the highest at 24%. The 9K range is also pretty heavily owned, which is something that we thought was going to be the case. Every single golfer in the 9K range projected at least 12% ownership. Doug Gim, the lowest, 19 for Ben Griffin, 18.7, 18.9 for Alex Smalley and Taylor Pendrith. So the pivot in that range, I believe to be Lucas Glover, a 14% owned Lucas Glover on a much better golf course than him, who is phenomenal, much better golf course than last week, who is phenomenal with his wedges. Still questions around the putter, but to me, that feels like the better pivot. The 8K range is kind of a lost range. Again, this is something we thought was going to happen. It's a lot of questions in this range. I guess technically Alex Smalley is 8,900. He is getting like the vast majority of the ownership in the 8K range. Brandon Wu at 13%. I mean, Stuart Sink as low as 4%. And I get it. That's not somebody that I'm super interested in going back to either, but that 8K range is pretty dead. 7K is Matty Schmid, Justin Lauer. I'm a big believer in Harry Hall at about 7%. You don't have to be on that ship with me. I'm rolling that way. And then Austin Smotherman, who we just talked about, checking in at 11.5% ownership. Camilo Villegas, this is like an absolute trap, right? A 10% owned Camilo Villegas is a trap. If he proves me wrong, he can have it, right? Is it 1L or is my screen recorder causing me issues? Sometimes when I have my screen recorder up, it slows my things. Give me a second here. I'll get Camilo up. Let me do a little refresh. Here we go. If he proves me wrong after having this stat profile and one good finish in a long time, and he goes out and does it again, he can have it. But at 10%, that seems a little bit wonky. And then Brian Gay, I'd actually almost prefer Brian Gay. Brian Gay is actually really fascinating for this week. He's missed, I think, 6 cuts in a row on the PGA Tour, but he's got like 6 top 10s in a row on the Champions Tour. He's just outmatched on the PGA Tour. And he's outmatched because of how long golf courses are and how good everybody is. But he's playing good golf against his peers. Now he goes to a golf course where he is not outmatched, and he has had so much success. So if I'm going to be worried about being on a chalky, cheap guy, it's going to be Brian Gett. All right. Let me see if I can pick up. Way to tie your low round of the year the other day. Yeah. So I did. I shot a 78 yesterday and I shot an 86 today. I went 39 yesterday. I went 43 today, which was not nearly as good. I didn't manage the golf course well. My short game's not good enough. If you could pull an Adam Long and hit every fairway for a round, what do you think you could shoot and what part of your game needs the most work? So I'm, by my own standards, very good. I'm a pretty good second shot player. I flush a lot of shots. I can hit a lot of greens. My natural swing is a descending blow. I can make pretty good contact. My driver is getting better. I don't hit it far, but when I keep it in play, I'm good. And I've been keeping it in play a lot more. My chipping and putting is horrible. I'm sorry. My chipping and pitching. My putting is getting better because I've used the Jailbird. My chipping and pitching is horrendous. I'm giving up so many strokes. I'm trying to pull the Victor, just land it on the green and get it to stay on the green. I have no shots. I have nothing. Everything feels uncomfortable. I do not have a short game. Patton Kizzire for the win. PK? PK for the win? Let's look at it together. T15 in Cabo. Made 3 out of his last 4 cuts. He's about an average PGA Tour player. Let's look at his wedge play is very good. So he's 12th on tour from 100 to 125 yards, 51-25. He's 24th, 75 to 100. That's a smaller bucket. He's worse there, but the bigger bucket, he's a lot better in. Cannot putt, but we'll check those numbers recently. Might make enough birdies. He's been okay with the flat stick. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think he's going to win, but this is a pretty good profile for this golf course, for Port Royal, right? Let's look at his. Yeah, he's not very long. That's not going to kill him here. He's very inaccurate. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's definitely a decent spot for him. I'll say that. Deep dive on Nick Dunlap. Yeah, so Nick Dunlap is still in college, right? Still an amateur. These guys, I never know when they turn pro or whatever. No, I'm pretty sure he's still in college. He, I think he's like a top 5 ranked amateur in the world. There's a lot of people think, right. He's kind of thrown to that conversation with Gordon Sargent. Nick Dunlap, he won the amateur, right? He's a very, very talented guy. His dad played on the PGA Tour. He's got a pedigree. Sneaky little option to be like top 25, something like that. How's Aaron Rye looking for the Ned Bank? All right. Well, let's just open it up. Let's just find out. Aaron Rye is coming off a 9th place finish in Qatar, 21st at the Zozo, T28 at the Shriners. Yeah, he's actually putting it together here. He had a little bit of a, this isn't that bad. Runner up here, ball striking's back, putting. I mean, this is pretty good. I'll tell you what, just to let you know, if you're not on rickrungood.com where you are getting 6 different tours, like, what are you doing? If you didn't have European Tour stuff for Aaron Rye, you'd be missing 4 out of his last 6 starts with strokes gain metrics. Like, come on. I love this site. I'm the biggest power user of my own site. I love this site. Has he played the Ned Bank before? 13th in 2019, 8th in 20. I'll tell you what, Aaron Rye to win this golf tournament. What's his number? I think I might have just got talked into Aaron Rye. Let's go see what his number is. I haven't bet anything for the Ned Bank yet. 20 to 1. 20 to 1. I think I might be interested. Jerry, if Aaron Rye wins, I'll send you $10. but you're going to have to remind me. Who do you prefer, Austin Cook or Kelly Craft? Wow, that's pretty good. Okay, so we've done a lot of Kelly Craft recently. Let's do a little bit of Austin Cook. Now, Austin Cook, I think he shot like a 10 under 60. It might be like a 62 or 63 on Sunday. Finished T10 last week. That is probably a mirage. If I say what I said about Camilo Villegas, I probably have to feel the same way about Austin Cook. All of these guys are capable of going out and having one good round. That does not make a tournament. It does not make a play in the following week. Kelly Craft has actually played a lot better over time. Kelly Craft he had 4 good finishes in a row, and then he did make the cut last week and was just hated that golf course, right? You probably heard the comments by now. He just absolutely hated El Cardinal, and he still made the cut. I would go back to Kelly Craft over Austin Cook. What was your best tournament finish last year? So I play a lot of single entry stuff. I had a good run. I think it was in was it the 100 single entry? What's that called? The long drive? Or was it the 33 where I finished, I don't know, 5th or 6th? I don't play a ton of volume. I play a lot of single entry stuff and just go from there. Is Pendrith a lock play? I'm pretty bullish on Pendrith, right? So last couple of weeks I've been pretty excited about Pendrith. I just think in general, he's a very talented golfer who has the ability to score a ton, has a ton of firepower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. T3 at the Shriners, T15 in Cabo. Those were his last 2 starts. Last time he played here was 2 years ago. He finished T21, or excuse me, that was in 2021. He finished T5. I'm a pretty big Pendrith guy. I wish he was better from close in, but I bet you he's pretty good on some of those longer par 3s. I'm bullish. I'm bullish. Who are the best putters on these greens? So these are Bermuda greens. Couple different ways we could do this. Let's just go to, excuse me. Let's just go to, let's do it in the Holy Grail. Strokes gained by tournament on Bermuda. How many years do you want to go? Let's get a decent sample size here. Back to 2020. Sort by strokes gained putting. Get a good sample size. Oh, Harry Hall, 30 rounds, 0.7. Thomas Dietrich, 29 rounds, 0.69. Brandon Todd, 150 rounds, 0.62. Noren, Mackenzie Hughes. Actually, Hughes is out. Patton Kazire would be the last. So there's another PK. I know we're asking a lot, but could you run a model for the DP World Tour? I mean, I could. I admittedly have not done much. I don't know what stats I would put in here. And we do have to be a little bit careful because we have a situation in which not all of these guys are going to have all of the stats available on the PGA Tour. So we've got to be pretty stock standard with this. So let's do, we definitely want some like weighted strokes gain stuff because that will give us, that'll look at what tour they play on, et cetera. And it'll help out there. So let's go. I mean, again, I haven't done much research on the Nedbank, but let's just go 30 on weighted strokes gained approach, 20 on weighted strokes gained off the tee, 10 on weighted strokes gained around the green, and 15 on weighted strokes gained putting. So we've made our own little weighted strokes gained here. And then what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to double it up and do some type of weighted strokes gained total because there would be some guys in theory that don't have that. So the last 25 is going to go on weighted strokes gained total. It looks a lot like the salaries here. Tommy Fleetwood, Max Homa, Justin Thomas, Justin Rose, Aaron Rye 5th. Ryan Fox gets a knock there. Matt Wallace gets a little bit of a good bump. Molinari, Francesco gets a pretty good bump here. Victor Perez, again, if I knew a little bit more, I'd give you a better profile there. I've read weather-wise PM AM shall be close to optimal. I agree that if you made me choose, I prefer PM AM. I don't think it's super crazy. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I did not think it's going to be a huge difference, but I agree that would be the side I would want to be on. Can you do a deep dive on Russell Knox? So I will, and I'll actually just do it via the newsletter email that I sent out. I find Russell Knox, I sent this yesterday, to be one of the more difficult, interesting golfers in this field because he has been statistically so good for a long time, yet he is getting nothing out of it. You know, he is one of the best approach players in the field, and he is phenomenal from the wedge buckets. His results are pretty horrid, right? I mean, he has won top 10 this calendar year. He doesn't have a top 25 this calendar year. Right? In 2023, he does not have a top 25. Yet he is routinely gaining 2, 3, 4 strokes on approach. And he's not that bad everywhere else. But then he's got some of the best course history here. 11th, 16th, 12th, 49th. So I have no idea. This is such a strange situation, a unique one that we don't often get. I've played him in a couple of single entry lineups. I haven't bet him or anything like that, but this is such a bizarre situation. Do you like to play first round leaders or matchups? I do matchups more than I do first round leaders. Admittedly, I do a lot more. I do probably 10-1 matchups. Probably more than that, actually, like 25-1 than first round leaders. First round leaders is very crapshooty. I like the idea of it, but man, it's pretty tough to figure out. I'm at the end of the questions. We can do some rapid fire. We can go eat lunch. It's up to you guys. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I will do this. This might spark some conversation as well. I have not put my entry in on Splash yet. So Splash is like the little listener league that we've been doing, and you just pick a golfer from each tier, and I've not put my entry in yet. So let's do it. Here's tier 1. Glover, Scott, Todd, Noren, List, and Hubbard. I don't think we need to be super different here. It's not a huge field. I like Todd, obviously. I like Lucas Glover. I think many will go for Todd. I will go with Glover. I've bet Glover this week. Herbert, Smalley, Dietrich, Griffin, Gim in tier 2. So I think that my model loves Griffin. I think that Dietrich is warming on me this week. And I think Smalley's the scary one. So we'll go either Dietrich or Griffin here. I mean, let's bow to the model and go Griffin. Now tier 3 is interesting because it's Brandon Wu, Taylor Pendrith, Akshay, Davis Riley, Nick Hardy, Dylan Wu. Akshay is mispriced here, right? I mean, he is a 10K golfer. For him to be in tier 3, we have to take him. Now, tier 4 is it has been decimated by WDs. So our only options left are Martin Laird, Ben Martin, and Vince Whaley. I'm a Whaley guy. Tier 5, Harry Hall, Lipsky, Merritt, Palmer, Sink, and Dunlap. If you watch anything, I'm going with Hall. And if I wasn't going with Hall, I'd go with Dunlap. And then tier 6, again, this is probably a misprice because Matty Schmidt's odds, I think, he might be like 50-1, are probably the best out of these guys. I accidentally bet Andrew Novak. You could go Kelly Craft here. So it's Kelly Craft or Matty Schmidt for me. I'm going to go with Matty Schmidt. If you want to get involved, there's a link in the description. Fun little contests we put on every week. It's all good. And then hopefully that it continues to grow and we have some options there in the future. Is Adam Scott going to care this week or is he vacationing like Luke List? Tough to say. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll say he cares. Can you do a deep dive on Brian Gay? We've done that. Just go back a little bit. Thoughts on Lanto? Somebody I haven't thought about too much as of late. 3 cuts in a row. T28, T13, T54. Losing strokes on approach everywhere. Has played here once. He finished 18th. He's not a great wedge player. He's not a particularly great putter. He's not a particularly great scorer. I do think he's kind of showing signs of improvement, but that included gaining nearly 10 strokes putting, gaining nearly 6.5 around the green. I do not feel optimistic about this. I do not feel optimistic by this. Can we put together a GoFundMe to put ShotLink on each PGA venue where they can at least track shots at 5 a.m. when they tee off? Preach to the choir, man. I mean, I'm honestly surprised. Is it a money I don't like. Why hasn't DraftKings or FanDuel or someone paid for this? If it's a money thing, right? Like, is it worth $1 million to DraftKings? Because then they can do, and is $1 million enough? Because then now you can do the live betting. You can do fairways and greens and the stuff that is a little bit harder when you don't have why haven't they paid for this? Why isn't it ShotLink is sponsored by everything. ShotLink powered by CDW, presented by DraftKings. What are we doing here? Do you consider yourself a professional wagerer? No. Been very clear about that over the years. Absolutely not. 100% entertainment. Do I think I take it more seriously than most? Absolutely. I'm looking at the data. I'm tracking results, all that fun stuff. It is not even a blip of income or expense for me. The rickrungood.com, CBS Sports, that is my bread being buttered. The rest is for fun, for entertainment, for the desire to be right, the desire to try to solve something. That's what I like. I try to solve problems. That is what it is. A couple random names here quickly. Trevor Werbelow. Then we'll get out of here. Trevor Werbelow as a flyer, T56, T68. When he plays his best, he's basically a zero, small positive approach player. Not bad with wedges. Not a very good putter. I'm out on Werbelow. Malnati for top 20. Peter Malnati. Well, it's good that he does not have to be long here because that is his issue. Very good putter. That's great. Wedges, not the worst. Okay, this is probably a little bit better than Werbelow. It's probably a better fit for him. He's made 3 out of his last 4 cuts. One was a T11, so he does have top 20 upside. I like that more than I like the Werbelow one. Is Hubbard generally an a yay or a nay? I lean more towards nay. He's not playing as well as I would like. I don't necessarily see it being foreshadowed, see it coming. So I'll lean nay. Thoughts on MJ Duffy? He's also another guy with a weird stat profile. I actually bet MJ Duffy to miss the cut this week. Just misses a lot of cuts. He drives it well. The rest of his game is very, very sour. I actually bet him to miss the cut, which I rarely do. All right. I think we're going to call it. I'm quite hungry and we got through a lot of random stuff. Go sign up for rickrungood.com. Go sign up for my newsletter. One is 100% free. The other one is not, but they're both very valuable. And this thing starts fairly early. I think like East Coast time, it's 5 a.m. or something like that. Cause I saw it was like 2 a.m. my time. I also mentioned this. The Netflix Cup is in Vegas next week. The Netflix Cup is a live event with 4 golfers from Full Swing and 4 F1 drivers from, Drive to Survive. This is going to be Netflix's first live sports of any kind production. So I'm very interested in that. I'll be there for the Netflix Cup. If you're going to be around, if you're going to be there, if you're going to be in Vegas, say hello. If you're going to be there for the F1 race, Patrick McDonald is going to be in town from CBS Sports. I think him and I are going to make a night of it Tuesday. I'll show him around. He's never been to Vegas. So if you're out and about, say hello, come find us. But yeah, should be a good time. Other than that, I'm starving. I'm going to go eat. Best of luck this week. I'll talk to you guys soon.